You know what's a more awkward conversation? A conversation 10 years later with a lawyer about the fact that you have to give half of this house away. Isn't it better to have that conversation when you still, like, why would you learn how to fight in a fight?
Won't that undermine the love that each person feels?
Women need to start having hard conversations before you get married. I have been seeing this lawyer all over my For You page all week. I don't know where he came from, but he says a lot of really important things. And that particular video, I'm going to link it in the caption, is about prenups. If you are too afraid to have an honest conversation about prenups and money before you legally tie yourself to another human being for the rest of your life, if you're afraid to have that conversation and unwilling to have that conversation, there's a problem. Maybe the problem is you. Maybe you just don't know how to navigate these conversations. Well, learn how to do it. Learn how to do it before you sign those papers. Maybe the problem is him. Maybe you don't feel safe with him. Maybe you are afraid to be honest with him, and it's not because of you, but because of how, he gives off a feeling that it's going to start a fight. If that is why are you marrying this person? This is the person that's going to make the most important decisions of your life for you. If you get sick, this is the person that's going to ruin your life financially, emotionally, in terms of exploiting your labor, in terms of parenthood possibly. If you don't trust this person to have an honest, sometimes hard conversation with before you get married, you got no business getting married. Or that is a huge red flag, and you need to seriously consider that. Now, I also think this is in regards to everything. Money is an important conversation to have. Prenups really are important, and not just like a basic one. Women really need to figure out what you're gonna do. Are you gonna work? What is your labor worth? Y'all need to figure this out. I'm gonna tag one of my mutuals who talks a lot about this, because this is about protecting yourself. If you really understand patriarchy, you're gonna wanna sign a prenup. Because despite what all these men are saying, you will lose. Because even though they call us gold diggers and all this other stuff, what they don't take into consideration is all your free labor. The wear and tear on your body from having those kids, from doing that labor, the mental load, and also all of the possible damage to your nervous system and having potential autoimmune diseases later on, because this man is stressful and you can't have honest conversations with them. Because if you can't have it before your marriage, you probably can't have them after. And it's not even with money. You need to have conversations about, what does monogamy look like for you? Is that what we're doing here? And a lot of women especially are afraid of that conversation. And a lot of conversations in general, you need to have that conversation. And what a lot of women don't even realize is that as much as you may want monogamy, you may not have taken into consideration that perhaps you may want to open the relationship. Perhaps this man's schmegs drive won't match yours. Because if there's one thing we know about men, a lot of them, what married or not, behave as if they're in an open relationship. And I swear to God, if you haven't noticed, a lot of men ask for an open relationship after they've been married for a while. And then after their wife goes out and she's like, well, okay, I guess. She goes out and she gets laid by a bunch of dudes. She's like, this is amazing. And then the husband, especially if he's super insecure, is like, wait. Can we close it back up? And she's like, no. Why? Because he's not having an easy time getting laid, but she is. Have you thought about that? This is not even involving cheating and deception and all that stuff. You need to realistically talk about what you might want, how you feel about things, what you believe in. If monogamy is super important to you, y'all need to have a conversation about that. My husband and I had this conversation, and thank God, the reason why I'm sharing this is because one of my friends told me about two different couples had this conversation before they got married. And both of them were like, look, I think it's kind of weird assuming that we, for the next several decades, multiple decades, or until one of us dies, is only gonna sleep with each other. I love the idea of that romantically, but not sure if that's actually realistic. What do you think about that? And so both of those couples said that, you know what, we need to revisit this regularly. We need to talk about it. And then if there is that need or that desire or that want, not necessarily need, to open it up, then they talk about it and they discuss the terms of it. Is it only with strangers or only someone that you know, or do you tell them or do you not tell them? My friends who role modeled that for me are the ones that made me realize, oh wow, that is a really important conversation to have. So we had that conversation. And like I've said before, I didn't know if I could be monogamous. I've been single my whole life until like 42, with the exception of a couple like short relationships. I don't know what it's like to be monogamous more than a year. Now, during those years, I never cheated, didn't want to, but 1 year is different than decades. And since I didn't even have my first O until I was 36, and that's when I stepped into like this whole new world of being like, oh wow, this is why people go like, wow, no wonder people do this. Because before I was like, what's the point of this? This sucks. To start that at such a late age, it seemed almost like a cruel joke that I'm expected to just ignore that for the rest of my life and be monogamous with one person, when I've missed out on most of my adulthood of having pleasure. My husband understood that. And he even said, I don't actually think that I'm going to need that. I don't know. But if you're going to need that, then yeah, let's make sure that this door is always open to have this conversation. And then if that's the case, we discuss the boundaries around it. And that was such a relief to me. If we had not had that conversation, I would have so much fear of me cheating. Even though I don't want to cheat, I don't have any desire to be with anyone else. But it's the avoidance of these hard conversations that creates the problem, not the conversation themselves, not even the topic itself. If you want to read more about this, I actually went to a Schmegs Club after we got married. And so we talked about it. It was more for like journalistic reasons, but because we'd had that conversation and because we revisited that conversation before I went to this club, having this freedom gave me more of a choice. And I didn't want to hook up with anyone at the club. Please do not avoid these hard conversations. And it's not that there's certain conversations I didn't know that we needed to have before we get married, but I have always known, and this is why I married him, that I feel safe with him, that he's an amazing communicator, way better than I am. And he's actually taught me how to be more honest about things, and he doesn't have to pull them out of me as much. But I've always known that he's a safe person. I feel so safe with this man. And I'm not someone who's used to conflict or having hard conversations. And now I'm not afraid of them because he makes it easy and safe to have hard conversations. And so we have discovered along the way, and we will continue to discover along the way, new subjects that, we have to discuss this. But because we had those initial hard conversations about very big things before we got married, I was able to come into this marriage without anxiety, without all that fear. Because again, it's the fear of those conversations and the vagueness around these really important topics that are probably going to lead to deceptive behavior, lots of betrayal, and eventually divorce. Every time a conflict comes up, I trust my husband fully that we will resolve that conflict, and we do, because we started right out of the gate having hard conversations. And if you can't have those hard conversations before you sign the most important document of your life that could literally screw you forever, then you aren't ready to get married. You just want a wedding, and you want a husband, but you don't want a partner, because y'all are already not on the same team.